11 verse 1 says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And also when we say, during the Mass, we profess our faith when we say the creed. Also, the NFCS slogan is living the faith. So what really is this faith? And how do we live our faith in our daily lives? That's what we shall be talking about today on Catholic Faith Forum. And with me to discuss this topic, we have an experienced corporate lawyer, social change enthusiast, and the facilitator and mentor in the youth engagement for active social transformation, Miss Nkem Agboti. Nice to have you here, ma.
Nice to be here, thank you.
And as usual, my partner in crime is here. Chima, the main man, the base man.
Jesus, thank you so much for
Don't let your head sweat too much.
Thank you for coming on the show today, and I'm looking forward to a wonderful time with you.
Hopefully we'll have one. So stay tuned as we go on this short break. We'll be back to talk to you about how to live your faith.
Is God calling you to support His ministry? Assist the Society for Vocation Support in the training of future Dominican priests and brothers. Donations can be made to the following account details on your screen. For more information, please call the following numbers.
Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
Welcome back. Today we shall be talking about how to live your faith in your daily life. I know it's a really complicated one because we feel like there are so many things going on in our daily lives, and so many things are happening.
That don't give us the chance to actually express our faith.
So let's take a step back. I want to ask you, okay, so what is this Catholic faith really about?
It's a very good question, a very good place to start.
Yes.
The Catholic faith, in just a few words, is it's the faith that was handed down to us by Jesus Christ himself.
Okay.
So the Catholic Church is the only church that has Christ, God himself, as the founder.
Nice.
It's the oldest living church. It's 2,000 years old. There was a time in the world when everybody who was Christian was Catholic. And the truth, and not everybody wants to hear it, but to be Christian is to be Catholic. The faith, so that's the background to the faith, how we got the faith. But the faith is something which it's very, very consistent with our human nature. It matches what we're about perfectly. It takes a bit of practice and a lot of grace
Yes.
to get where you want to go spiritually, but it's perfectly suited for the human nature. And it makes me remember what St. Augustine said, which is that our hearts are restless and they don't rest until they rest in God. So basically, if you get the practice of the Catholic faith perfectly, you will be fulfilling yourself perfectly as a human being, and you will have this happiness which we've been speaking about in other sessions.
Wow.
That's good to know.
All right, so now we have several denominations. So what exactly still remains the unique selling point of the Catholic faith?
The unique selling point really is the fact that it's the church that was founded by Christ himself. Why do you want to go to a church that was founded by someone else besides God himself? If God has spoken and said this is the faith, then that really is the faith that you should follow. So that really is the unique selling point. But if I want to drill down a little bit, obviously not everybody buys into the fact that the Catholic faith was delivered by Christ himself.
Yes.
So how do we explain it to other people? There are many ways, but the first way that springs to mind is just to look at the history of the church. The church has, so to speak, been through hell and high water.
Yes.
We have suffered every kind of persecution.
Yes.
We've been under attack. We've just gone through so many challenges, but we're still standing.
Yes,
And we're still an authority. We are the highest provider of schools and hospitals besides governments. Every single person in the world has been impacted by the Catholic faith. And everywhere in the world that you go, you will find the Catholic Church. It's not, I mean, the worst places you can think of, the Catholic Church is there. Other denominations, you don't find them so much.
Yes.
The Catholic Church goes there,
Churches everywhere.
sets up, evangelizes, we get some converts, and then the other churches come and try to reap where they didn't sow. And now, I'm not trying to speak negatively of our separated brethren. We love them very much, and the truth is we have more in common with them than we don't. But the point is, though, that the Catholic Church is the church, the first church. It's the church that possesses the fullness of truth, and we've done a lot in terms of missionary work. You can find us everywhere. We are led by the Pope, and we have the bishops and we have the priests who help them. These are men who have decided to dedicate themselves 100% to the faith and propagating the faith and administering sacraments, most especially. And what that means is that they've taken vows of celibacy. They've left everything they have to serve everybody. And you've got to ask yourself, what is it that would make somebody drop everything and remain faithful their whole life? There's got to be something there. The sacrifices they make in itself lends a lot of credibility to the church, among other things.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ma. And I would like to ask, you answered when we were talking about the unique selling point of the church that were led by bishops and priests. But these bishops and priests and the Pope lead people, the lay faithful. So what exactly is our role in the church?
It's a good question. You know, for a long time, there was this belief that lay people are pretty much second-class citizens in the kingdom of God.
Yes.
And that based on the merits of the priests and the religious, we would get into heaven. Of course, we believe in the communion of saints, so it is true that we will enjoy each other's merits. But in Vatican II, it was established that there's a universal call to holiness, which essentially means that everybody has a role to play in being salt and light in this world, not just the priests and religious. And interestingly, our role is very key in the sense that most people are lay people, and lay people go everywhere. You're not going to find a priest in the architectural firm necessarily. You know, you're not going to find the Pope in any commercial establishment or even at somebody's birthday party in the neighborhood. But lay people are everywhere. We're everywhere. We're in all of the professions. We're doing everything. And our job, following what was established in Vatican II, is to put Christ on top of every aspect of human endeavor that is noble. Every noble aspect of human endeavor, put Christ on top of that. And what that basically means is that we must do normal human things in a Christian way. So we must follow the gospel in everything that we do. So if you're going to be a lawyer, do it in a Christian way. If you're going to celebrate your birthday, celebrate it in a Christian way. If you're going to practice medicine, practice it in a Christian way. If you're a pharmacist, same thing. And I'm highlighting some specific professions because there are a lot of ethical issues that come up here and there, but this forum is not really to talk about those. But you must perform these professions in a Christian way, not necessarily in the way that everybody else is performing them. But apart from that, apart from just living our life in a very Christian way, we also have to bring others to God, which is basically what the meaning of the word apostolate is, to bring other people to God. So apart from putting Christ on top of every aspect of human endeavor, we also have to bring a lot of people with us. So on Judgment Day, when you're knocking at heaven's door, you're saying, God, please let me and my friends come in. So a very key aspect of our role is to minister to our friends, get into their lives, show concern, and help them, transform them little by little, and bring them to Christ. And if we do that, if each of the baptized approaches their friends and little by little, through apostolate of friendship and trust, is able to bring them to Christ, we'll transform the world. Definitely. So really the transformation of the world is quite on us, but we're strengthened by the formation and the sacraments, which we can only get
from the priest.
Through the priest. Well, we can get formation from other sources, but we do get it from the priests. The priests are absolutely indispensable, because where will we get the grace?
Wonderful.
Okay, so you mentioned a few ways that we could, practice our faith in our daily life. You just did. So can you list out some more ways we could actually practice our faith in our daily lives?
Again, another good question. The truth is, the best way that we can live out our faith is through the little things. I mean, you're not going to get that many opportunities to do dazzling things. These opportunities don't occur. It's not so much that you can't do them, but the opportunity to do dazzling things don't occur. But in your life, every single day, in the little circumstances of the day, there is an opportunity for you to practice your faith. And you need to practice your faith in those little opportunities. As little as not littering, being punctual,
very important.
Keeping up a consistent struggle against your faults, being pleasant with others, working hard, showing good manners, all of these little things, and you have occasion to do all of those things throughout the day.
Every day.
These are opportunities for you to express your faith. Now, I'll just give a small example. Look at Our Lady, Mary, Mother of God. She was a housewife. And on the face of her life, when you just take her life at face value, it almost seems insignificant. She didn't do anything dazzling,
She didn't do anything
naked
spectacular.
to the naked
Yeah.
eye. She didn't do anything dazzling. She was a housewife, raised her son, and was a good wife to her husband and kept her home. That's all the naked eye can see. But because she had certain interior dispositions, and because she so faithfully carried out everything God wanted her to do, and all God wanted was raise my son for me on this earth, she did it so well that she's the greatest woman that ever lived. And she's now the queen of heaven and earth, isn't she? Just by doing what she was asked to do, which was just a little thing. So it's in the little things that we can that we can do very well in a Christian way, and then offer it up. So even if it's a little thing, but you do it with a lot of love and you do it to the best of your ability, you can offer it up in unity with the holy sacrifice of the Mass throughout the world. In thanksgiving for all the favors God gave for you, remission for your sins, for the intentions of your family and your friends, and most especially the Pope, and then you've lived extremely well.
Wow. Okay, so I would like to go to the issue of relationships, the Catholic faithful and relationships with other people. Sometimes we Catholics sometimes don't know how to draw a line. First, is there a line to be drawn? Then secondly, if there's a line to be drawn, how do we draw that line in living our faith? Because some of us are so enthusiastic that everywhere we go, I have this friend who is known in the neighborhood for being a Catholic, and not because of his life, because he goes everywhere with a crucifix, like he holds one.
Oh, wow.
You get? So that is the only identity of him being a Catholic that people know. So how do we draw this line, if there is a line to be drawn in our relationships with people, so that we can actually live out
Like
our
how
faith?
much is too much?
Like
Right?
how much is too much? Beautiful.
You know what? How much is too much in terms of what can you do and what can't you do? You know, this is a question that gets asked a lot. Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
How far can I go that I won't be sinning? Or how far can I go that I'm not acting like a Catholic?
Yes.
We are Catholics, good. We get our formation, we get graces through the church. But also, we are human beings. And we have to be very natural in the things we do. You can't wear Catholic on your sleeve. It's not ideal, and it will chase people away. You've got to be very natural. People just have to see the way you behave, like it, and emulate you. And as they're emulating you, you see they can get converted. They may ask, oh, which church do you go to? Or they may say, what makes you you? And that's your opportunity to then share the faith, and maybe you get some conversions that way. But where I'm going with what I'm saying is that you really shouldn't, that you're Catholic is one of the last things you should say to people. You can't say, hi, I'm Chima, I'm a Catholic. You just say, hi, I'm Chima. And like I said, you do everything in a very Christian way. Christianity is extremely attractive.
Yes,
when
it is.
people behave in a Christian way, it's attractive. It's not very Christian to tell people you're a frightful sinner, or you're going to hell because of what you're wearing, because of what you said. Someone is doing something wrong, you've got to correct them with a lot of love at an opportune time.
Yes.
And you've got to do it in the right way, and you've got to be the right person. You may not even be the best person to
can
do
always
it.
refer.
You're always in a good position to correct your friends, your true
'Cause you
friends.
know them and you're close
If someone
to you.
is not your friend, you can look for another person or way, or make it happen. But the point is, you must do things in a very natural way. And there's no such thing as doing things in a Catholic way. There's no Catholic way to do things. There's a human way. And like I said, Christianity is humanity, basically. So you don't have to walk around with your rosary all the time. But you just need to follow the teachings of Christ. And also be true to your faith, though. I mean, that's where we get our grace, and that's how we become who we are. But it's not something you need to announce all over the place and use to intimidate people or to turn people off. But sorry, before we move away from this question, I'll just make a small point, which is basically that, you know, there's the earthly dimension and there's the supernatural dimension, and the two go absolutely hand in hand. So it's a lifelong struggle learning how to have a perfect unity of life, but there must be some unity of life in a very, very extremely natural way.
Yeah.
If you look at the sacraments are an extremely supernatural thing. Do we agree?
Yes.
But to administer the sacraments, you take a lot of natural things.
Yes.
Like, for example, Holy Eucharist, there's water, there's bread, and there's wine, which is, you know, fruit of the vine, work of human hands. You know, and all the sacraments have matter, which it indicates that earthly things and supernatural things need to go together.
Yes.
And we must never feel as Christians there's something wrong with earthly things. So some people feel, I can't be too worldly, I can't have too much fun, I can't eat food, I can't do this and that because I'm a Christian. But remember, earthly things are good. You know, they were created. We read in Genesis, God created it and it was good. So earthly things are extremely good, but you need to use them to the glory of God. You need to use them in accordance with God's will. Yeah, and when you do that, then you're doing a beautiful thing. You're doing something that you can offer up. The simple test is this. In everything you're doing, just ask yourself, is this something I can offer to God? As I'm doing this thing right now, can I say, God, I'm offering this action to you?
Nice.
If you, in good conscience, can offer it, great. And if you can't, then you should stop immediately.
Okay, so thank you very much. Now, before we continue, we need to take a short break and sample opinions from the streets, because we actually do that often. So stay with us as we see the opinions from the street.
Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
Most times I don't forget when I'm at school. I don't usually make school activities be first. So most times I make my work activities come first because I'm a Christian. So most times when I'm busy in church, I have to leave what I'm doing in school. Even though it's important too, but then you still have to manage everything. So you just don't forget where you are coming from. That's just the main thing. So if you are in school or you are at home, you are anywhere, don't just forget where you are coming from. So just be yourself and just know what you are not meant to do as a Catholic.
Every morning we pray at least the decade of the rosary because of time constraints. But before I leave home, I do my devotion 5 a.m. every day because you need to start your day with God. It's very important. So at my office, we pray at least 1 decade of the rosary every morning. Then the Angelus for 12, because usually our break time is 12 to 1. Before we go for the break, we pray the Angelus for 12. So more or less, as a Catholic, there are a lot of things that you need to let other people know, especially about your faith, including my clientele. Because my clients, when they come in, sometimes I try as much as possible not to get into arguments when it comes to faith or denominations. But when they see the statues and the rosaries in the office, and the first question they ask is, are you a Catholic? I say yes. So why, you people, they've said it over and over, you should stop praying to these things. They are inanimate objects.
You are closer to Jesus. In the morning, I'm a nurse, so you should expect a lot from me. Most time when I entered the ward, I say I make my sign of the cross and I rushed in. Most of my clients say, not so, but which one is it? I have to invite Jesus into everything that I do. That at least, let me just invite him before any other thing. Say that's why I made the sign of the cross. And as I'm coming in, I'm sanctifying you guys as I'm coming in so that I can have a peaceful shift. Jesus can take over of everything I'm doing. So that is the beginning of my activities at work. If I'm lucky, if it's during the time of Angelus, I announce it. If you are a Catholic, please join me as I say the Angelus. I announce it. Even at times when I'm in the bus, I announce it when I'm there. I don't mind. Just if you're a Catholic, that can remind you. Probably you've forgotten or you've overworked yourself. That will remind you to say the Angelus. And after the Angelus, if I'm still at work during Divine Mercy, what I used to do is, we give drugs either 4 hourly, 6 hourly, or 8 hourly. So I used to make sure that my duty does not exceed 2:30 so that I can say my Divine Mercy. But most of the time when I have to say my Divine Mercy, I'll just announce it on the ward. I'll go to the nurse's room and say my Divine Mercy. That is my routine at work.
Is God calling you to support his ministry? Assist the Society for Vocation Support in training future Dominican priests and brothers. Donations can be made to the following account details on your screen. For more information, call the following numbers.
Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
Welcome back. Interesting opinions from the streets, don't you think so?
Yes, yes, very interesting.
Like the lady that said you have to keep your head low because I noticed that a lot of Catholics feel like they're a target, so they tend to just, you know, shy away from confrontation, don't express themselves, don't show anything. What do you have to say about that?
A lot needs to be done about that, actually. And I think it boils down to formation. So this is an area that I think needs to be addressed within the church. A lot of people, we go for catechism to prepare to receive the sacraments.
Yes, we do.
And once we have received our first sacraments, once we're fully initiated into the church, there's no more catechism, there's no more formation, we don't do spiritual reading, we don't know anything about the faith. So it's very important that every Catholic has a place they can go to where they can get formation. That way they can defend their faith in whatever situation they find themselves in. So you made a good point that a lot of people, they shrink away. They don't want anybody to know that they're Catholic because they can't defend the Catholic faith.
Any questions that they might throw at them.
And even worse, if you can't defend the Catholic faith, someone may come to you and try to proselytize you so that you move to another denomination. So you need formation not only so that you can defend your faith, but so that you can stand firm in the faith for yourself. So formation is extremely important. I know within the diocese, every parish has a Know Your Faith program, which is extremely, which is a very good step in the right direction. I'm aware of some centers where people, not just Catholics, anybody can actually go and learn more about the faith. They can get spiritual direction. They have access to a library where they can read so many things that will help them, make them firmer in the faith. And anyone who's interested can contact the producers of the show who will refer you to me, and I'll point you in the right direction where you can get very good formation as an adult or as a child.
Oh, interesting.
Wonderful. So I would like to know this. It's sort of rampant now because mainly in schools, many young people who have grown up as Catholics get into schools and then they are proselytized, like you said. And then it becomes a problem because when they get back, or when we notice that they are not around, there are no more Catholics per se, then it becomes a problem. So what steps do we take in curtailing this? Like, how do we make them see the essence of their Catholic faith, how to live it out that they don't feel alienated from the rest of the world?
A very good point, a very good question. So apart from the formation, those of us who are with the church need to set a good example. Good example is everything. So if there are people who are having doubts about the faith, but then there's someone next to them and in front of them who is an exemplary Catholic, it helps. So I'm not sure which saint said it, but there was a particular saint who said, preach the gospel and if necessary, use words. So he was trying to insinuate that you preach the gospel with your actions. There was another saint, Saint Jose Maria Escriva, who said that how I wish that by your bearing and your words, people would look at you and say, this person reads the life of Christ. So at the end of the day, it's all about good example. Or even Gandhi, who said it himself, you know, when he was in South Africa and he went to a church, he was Hindu. But he lived in South Africa, went to a church, and that was during the apartheid era, so he wasn't allowed entry into the church. And it wasn't a Catholic church, it was a Calvinist church. And he made the comment that if Christians would live by the gospel, everybody would be Christian. And this is a Hindu saying this about Christianity. So at the end of the day, it's about good example. So if there are people who have left the church, good example is invaluable to bringing them back, because they'll be able to say, well, how are my Catholic people behaving? How are the other people behaving? You pick the better one.
True. Okay, so I wanted to ask, are there factors that affect our faith positively and negatively? If there are, can you list some of them?
Okay, now, our intellect, every piece of information that is processed by our intellect was taken in by the senses. Every thought you're thinking is from a book you read or a movie you watched. Even if you're a creative person, you get inspiration from somewhere, don't you?
Yes. Songs,
so it all
movies.
starts from something. So what you're taking into your senses, what your intellect is processing. So yes, there are things that will take us away from God, and what happened is because we didn't guard our senses. We read some kind of magazine that got us thinking off track. We read a book, we watched a movie, we engaged in a conversation, we looked at somebody's outfit, anything. So we need to have we need to form our conscience in such a way that you immediately know when something is not good for your intellect. I don't want this thing in my brain at all, so that my brain will not spoil. So as girls, we know that when you're straight from the hairdresser, you've done your hair, you don't want anything to spoil your hair. You're even ready to sleep on your forehead just to preserve your hair. You have to be that way about your soul. You need to just say, nope, this thing is not going to affect my soul. You can see many things, but you don't have to look. You can see without looking, you know. So you must just do everything you can to guard your senses, because if poison gets into your intellect, it can drive you away from your faith. I don't know if you want me to be extremely specific.
You can.
There's a whole lot of stuff in the media that's just not right. Yeah. And there's a whole lot of stuff in even school curricula which isn't right. I don't know if you've heard of comprehensive sexuality education, which is, I mean, when we were younger there was sex education, and even that was sensitive. But now we have sexuality education that sexualizes you, that teaches you how to be a sexual person. And I think most people would agree that we want our parents to talk to us
that makes more sense
about sex.
That makes more sense.
And we want our sex education to be character-based. You know, what kind of person is this? What kind of information do we need to give to this child? Or, you know, how do we do it? Or how do we teach children to make the right choices, to abstain, and so on and so forth? Not just, this is how your body works,
and this is what you should
do whatever you want with it, just make sure you protect it. So, but anyway, I'm derailing. But there are different things. There are things in the curricula, even in school, you're not safe. That's the point I'm making. So you need to form your conscience very well so that you know immediately when something is not good for you. And also parents, I know this is a forum for youth, but parents need to be more involved. So parents need to know what the children are taking in school. You know, parents need to monitor and control, you know, what we're getting on the internet, because at a touch of a button you can see everything. And most of what is in the media is trash. That's the starting point. Most of what is, I love this forum and I love this station that's airing fora like this, because these are the shows we need to watch. We need to watch more wholesome shows. We need to watch instructional shows so that, you know, our intellect is processing the right stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been a really wonderful experience. I would also like to know if you have any final words.
Final advice or
tips and more tips
for youths out there, so we can live our faith.
For not only youths, for people in general, because we youths will grow up to become the adults, and then you have to pass it down to younger people. So everybody,
Well, what I'd like to say is we've talked a lot about how to live our lives, but at the root of it all is prayer. It starts with prayer. If you could act or pray, just one of the two, it's better you pray. So we all need to have a solid prayer life. We need to have a plan of life. We need to have a schedule of prayer and organize our life around it. And why do we need to have a schedule of prayer? It helps us to keep the presence of God throughout the day, and eventually we'll become people who are immersed in God. And so everything we do, the love of God just shows through in everything that we're doing. So try and have a prayer life. It is your tonic, it is your medicine, it will see you through, it will guide you. When you're feeling confused, if you've prayed, don't worry, everything will be fine. So have a prayer life. Attend Mass every day, say the Rosary every day, do spiritual reading every day, say the Angelus. Examine your conscience every single day so that there'll be no surprises on Judgment Day. And you'll have such a rich interior life, and you'll be very happy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ma. It's been a pleasure having you. It's been a pleasure having Miss Nkem Agboti on the show today. Chima, I had an amazing time.
Yes, I did.
I don't know about you, but
I did. You don't need to.
At least I know how to live my faith now every day.
Pumped.
Okay, thank you so much. I know you enjoyed the conversation, because I definitely did. You can join us on our social media platforms at CFF on TV for information, comments,
and more questions.
Anything, we're there to answer. So it's been a pleasure having you. Till next time, keep being saints
in jeans
and shirts. See ya.
See ya.